What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Uh, Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel and check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak about this GOAT debate, right? And we know that, like, basically throughout Michael Jordan's career and Kobe Bryant's career, and really if you go back further to like Magic and Bird and Barkley and all those guys, that GOAT debate was never really an issue. It was always like the thing with those guys, they was chasing rings. That's what they were more concerned with. Like not just the GOAT debate or being the face of the league. Those guys was chasing the rings. And I used to think that when Michael Jordan said that, he kind of cringed when people asked him if he was the GOAT, and he said because he never really he didn't have the opportunity to play against everybody. So he cringed. Like he said he didn't get to play against Jerry West. He didn't get to play against Bill Russell and all those guys. So he couldn't really say he was better than those guys because he never beat them. Right. And on the face, that is, that's true. And it's the politically correct thing to say, right? And that's what you expect, from Michael Jordan. And like I said, most guys who played professional basketball would take that route. But also there's another part of it too, right? And the thing is, like everybody, all those guys who play professional basketball, they know and they realize that that's something, that GOAT debate is something that will be decided by like the powers that be, like the not just the fans, but like the people who run the NBA and people who are in charge of media and stuff like that. And that was out of their control. Like I said, only thing that as a player, the only thing players could control is like their effort on the court. So if they were put in a position to be the face of the league or be a franchise ball player, then they were going to maximize that opportunity, like I said, by taking advantage of the opportunity and just going ahead and being the best player that they can be. And that's all you could be, right? Is the best player you can be. If the team allowed you to shoot the ball, you had the green light as far as shooting and stuff like that, then you was going to get out there and you was going to be as efficient as you could, and you was going to be as good as as great as you can be. You was going to take advantage of that opportunity, because not all basketball players had the opportunity to shoot at will. Like not all basketball players got the green light. On each team, you probably had one person that was like the primary scorer, or you had two people that were primary scorers and they was fighting for attention. They was fighting for that lone position. Very seldom you had like two guys who shared that role, but everybody had a role on the team. So if that was your role to be the primary scorer, you fought hard, to keep that role, and you fought hard to make sure that you was that, you was what they say you were, you was that deal. So that's something that players couldn't really control. Like as far as like who was the GOAT, all they could control was their effort on the court, and what they did. But the league and the teams decided like who got the green lights. Even when it comes to players like Allen Iverson, I remember watching Allen Iverson when he was younger, when he first hit the league with the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, it's not just all about talent. Although Allen Iverson, man, was a freak athlete. This guy could play basketball, and they say he was a better football player than basketball. And I seen some of his football highlights, and Allen Iverson was dynamic. Allen Iverson was so dynamic as an athlete, as a football player, that Michael Vick looked up to him. What's the other kid that came from the Virginia area? He played quarterback for he played quarterback for the Saints, for the New Orleans Saints. I forgot his name was Aaron something, but I forgot. He played quarterback, and he was from they said they all looked up to Allen Iverson, because Allen Iverson, as an athlete in Virginia, Allen Iverson was a beast. But when you get to professional basketball and professional football, it don't matter what you think you are. You may not, although you might be that dude or that deal. If the league don't see you that way, if your team don't see you that way, then you won't get the chance to develop into something special, right? And that's basically what it is. Like Michael Jordan developed his game because he was able to shoot at will, score. That was his primary job, was to score, right? And so he made sure he became very efficient. He perfected his game where as though he had no flaws in his game. And so, like I said, being a GOAT was not the wasn't his focus, or none of those guys' focus for real. But and so today is just different though. You got all these guys focusing on who's the GOAT and all this other stuff, when fans is really a distraction. I'd rather see somebody perfect their craft than get being named like the face of the league. You want to see somebody who is really like perfecting their craft, like who just really outstanding at their job. Like, and you have players around the league. Like, I like to watch this guy. What's the guy named? Joe Johnson. Like, they call him ISO Joe. I mean, ISO Joe is just a guy who is a professional scorer. And if you watch him operate, you can just appreciate, like, this guy is just like I said, professional scorer. Who's another one? Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton won a championship with Giannis in Milwaukee. Now he's playing with the Washington Wizards. Like, Chris Middleton is a professional scorer, man. I mean, it's just like watching an artist do what they do. Who else was like? I mean, it's just a ton of guys you can watch. When you watching NBA basketball, you watching guys who are just, I mean, they just so good at what they do, and people just take it, what they do, for granted, because these guys make it look so easy. But trust me, and most people know that, like, what these guys do on the court on a nightly basis is not easy, man. Your game got to be sharp as like a razor, So I mean, and I can name so many guys that are just really excellent at their craft. And I appreciate that more so than I do somebody who you say, well, all right, this person is the GOAT. If you say they the GOAT and they don't really perfect their craft, then, like, I get the feeling that you're cheating me, right? I want to see somebody who is like who has perfected their craft. Like, when you watch Kareem Abdul-Jabbar shoot that sky hook, like, he worked on that shot for years. And that was a shot that, it was, you couldn't even defend that shot. I did see tape of that sky hook getting blocked twice, and the person who blocked it was Wilt Chamberlain. I saw him block that sky hook 2 times. Wilt Chamberlain was like a 7-foot. Man, Wilt Chamberlain was a beast as an athlete, man. He was 7 feet tall and could run like a gazelle, right? But yeah, man, when you watch a Kareem, man, you just watching, like, that shot that Kareem had, that sky hook was just so proficient and so dangerous. But it's hard to do. Like, nobody in history shoots that shot. And it's number one, it's a high percentage shot. Number two, it's hard to block, and so, but nobody shoots that anymore. So, people appreciate that Wilt Chamberlain had that sky hook. And that's basically, in my opinion, that's what basketball is about. It's about people perfecting their art as an individual, and then you bring all these pieces together, and then you work on yourself. You work on it as a team and try to win see how far you can go as far as like winning championships and stuff like that. So that's why I think that guys like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and all those guys didn't chase that GOAT thing, get involved with that GOAT argument. Number one, they had no control of that narrative. All they could control is what they did on the court. So they stayed away from that. But they could control, like, like I said, like going after rings. They wanted them rings. That's what meant everything. That's what the fans got into. Like I said, it was never a debate about the GOAT. You know, like the media, that's something the media just try to distract people with. But I prefer to watch somebody who is proficient at their craft, not somebody who is you know, who got all these stats and somebody called, well, this is the GOAT. This is the greatest basketball player to ever live. And if you give somebody that title, then they better you know, they better look like they, you know, are very efficient and can, you know, can do everything, man. But you just can't get somebody that title, in my opinion. So that's my take on it. That's why Mike and Kobe and all the greats stay away from that debate as far as they are concerned. So make sure to like, subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, man, I'm gonna check y'all out in the next video. Peace.